Halloween, Michael.
Hello, howdy, everybody. I'm John.
I'm Justin.
And we're
Gore
Goblins, the show where we talk about horror movies we love.
Some we don't.
And welcome back. It has been like fucking a month because I got COVID.
And I got a stupid dishwashing job because, you gotta make money.
Yeah, I got, and like, we were gonna start working around Justin's schedule, and then I got sick for 2 weeks. And then the third week, Justin's schedule did not allow us to get together to do this. So here we are on Monday, the whatever day it is, I don't know, August 1st. It's fucking August already, god damn it. By this point, I was hoping we were already going to be doing like the one-offs, but no, here we are. But here we are on August 1st talking about movies. And which movie are we talking about today, Justin?
Halloween 2018, the movie H2O should have been.
The movie H2O.
I can feel people getting mad at me saying that, but you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
No, it's what it should have been because H2O sucked.
Yeah, I didn't like H2O. That's a shame. Yeah, this is Halloween 2018. Full spoilers for this one. As always, this movie came out 40 years after Halloween, John Carpenter's original Halloween, and it's it retcons everything. No sister shit.
Thankfully.
No Jamie Lloyd. No
Sadly.
No Busta Rhymes.
Thankfully.
No, hey, listen, all right? It's the best part of that movie, unfortunately, because that movie could have had it. We talked about it. Just go fucking watch it. Listen to the episode. Watch it. We're not doing
Resurrection's
videos.
actually our most viewed on YouTube.
We're not doing videos yet. Yeah, because that's probably one that people, it's fun to shit on. But yeah, it came out 40 years after, and it takes place, it's a sequel to the original. And that's good. And I think it works very well. Justin thinks it works very well. I'm going to go ahead and speak for him because we've talked about this movie at length at work. This is kind of like our discussions about this movie pretty much kind of inspired.
When we used to work together.
Yeah, when we used to work together. Our discussions of this movie kind of like inspired Gore Goblins in general. And so if it wasn't for this movie, you wouldn't have us. So you're either thankful for that or you're cursing David Gordon Green. Either way, this movie came out in 2018, directed by David Gordon Green, written by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, of all fucking people. Jamie Lee Curtis is obviously back as Laurie Strode. Nick Castle, in some shape or form, is back as the Shape. And but for the most part, Michael's played by James Jude Courtney. And then we got a bunch of newcomers. We got Judy Greer as Laurie's daughter. We got her husband, who's played by somebody that I can't remember the name of right now. I have the cast list in front of me. I shouldn't be mean. We have Andy Matichak as Allison, who's Laurie's granddaughter. She's really good in this, I think. She's a good newcomer. She can scream sometimes.
I kind of get the sense she was happily inspired by Jamie in some way because every time I see her on screen, that's what it reminds me of.
Well, I don't know. What I was gonna say was that sometimes her screams or feel kind of half-hearted, but I also understand that it's probably very difficult to scream like you're actually scared when you're not. We have Will Patton as Deputy Frank Hawkins, who in this timeline is the first responding officer who got Michael Myers, and we'll find out more about that in the next episode when we talk about Halloween Kills, but he prevented Loomis from killing Michael. We have, how do you say that? Halleck Bilgener as Dr. Sartain, who's the new Loomis. Basically, that's what he is. We have two people. We have Rhiannon Reeves and Jefferson Hall, who play two podcasters, which is...
don't listen to their podcast. Listen to ours.
Listen to their. Well, you can't anymore. We'll talk about that later. There's Toby Huss as Ray. That's Judy Greer's husband in the movie. Virginia Gardner is Vicky. This movie's Annie, because she deserves better.
Vicky ain't so icky.
She deserves so much better. We got Dylan Arnold as Cameron.
Fuck Cameron.
He's we'll talk about that later. We got Miles Robbins as Dave, who's Vicky's boyfriend.
He's also in the video game The Quarry, which
is
really good.
I finally got to, thing about that. So I'm gonna go off on a tangent here because I know some of my friends that I played it with are gonna be listening to this. But I finally played the core this past weekend. I went to a death metal show on Friday night, and then I get home at 2. I wake up and do moving all that day because we were moving stuff out of an apartment, and then I go to play the quarry at around like 3 or 4 in the afternoon with my friends. We don't finish the game until 3:30 in the morning, and I was very tired. but yeah, Miles Robbins is in that game, and I'm gonna go ahead and just talk a little bit of spoilers about that one. This is gonna be a mini Quarry episode. Fuck it. So the Quarry, a supermassive game they did Until Dawn. It's got my boy David Arquette. It's got Lance Henriksen. It's got Ted fucking Raimi, who's great in it. I love his character. And David Arquette should have been in it more, but he wasn't. And Miles Robbins is one of the campers you can play as in that game. And you know, I thought of it as, okay, this is just stupid campy 80s slasher. I'm not really gonna put too much stock in it. And it was fun to play it with 7 other people. That made it a little more worthwhile. But the problem was that some of the characters, it's not an even playtime between the characters. So one of my friends picked Caitlin, who is you know, seems like she's going to be a prominent character, and then you don't play as her until like the last fucking half of the game.
But
like,
she's like the best character.
Yeah, but she's exactly, and she barely fucking plays
That's
her.
That's why you couldn't play as her the entire time. Because
and then like you see that she's a crack shot with the fucking shotgun or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you can't play as her though." And then I think I was Emma.
Disney Channel trained her well.
Yes, and then I was Emma. And we all survived except for Caitlin and Miles Robbins' character too. They were the only ones that died. Because listen, there's that part at the end where the werewolf's chasing you through the kitchen and through the house. My buddy ran into the kitchen, and he had the option to run into the freezer or run away. And there was nowhere to run, admittedly, but he picked run anyway because he was like, I'm running. Because what he thought was that he was gonna run, meet the werewolf, and shoot it. That's what he thought was going to happen. But instead, he just gets fucking choke slammed over and over again and then thrown into a fucking wall. And then fucking Miles Robbins gets his throat ripped out. And that was, that was something. And, overall, we were kind of like, it's not that I wasn't really disappointed, but the reception to it was kind of like, well, that was a game, I guess. It was fun with my friends, but it kind of didn't make any sense, and it kind of, like, the character playtime wasn't even, and there's some other stuff, but, like, my opinion on it is I can excuse all of that because it's just dumb 80s slasher movie. I'm not expecting it to be perfect. I think it's fine. I'm probably going to play it again with another group of friends.
Me.
Eventually, probably, yeah. That might be something that we can, like, I don't know, live stream one day or something. That'd be really cool. We'll look into that, actually. We can do Until Dawn and because I have both, because it's on PlayStation Plus. So we can do Until Dawn and we can do The Quarry. And I think that'd be really fun to do, actually. Me and you, maybe another friend who's probably going to join us for the Evil Dead episodes. Maybe him. Who knows? We'll see. But so I guess keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I thought The Quarry was pretty fun. It was fun for what it was. That's because like those kind of like narrative like choose your own story games are never really anything that I think are good, but like they're fun to just kind of like go through and be like, oh, that's something. Except for The Wolf Among Us. I really like The Wolf Among Us. I love that one. All the others I'm kind of ho-hum about.
I just appreciate werewolves getting attention.
Yeah, they looked really weird though, because that was the other complaint that my buddies had was that they kind of looked a lot like the Wendigos. They didn't look like anything like from The Howling or fucking something like that, which I guess is cool
they
because
weren't typical werewolves.
Yeah, they weren't typical werewolves,
still...
so I kind of appreciate that. But at the same time, I want a big hairy boy. Yeah. I want a big hairy boy that's gonna rip somebody in half. For no fucking reason.
Their transformation was great.
The transformations are cool. They just blow up.
Explode.
They just explode. Yeah. And there's some good kills in there that we didn't get because we all survived. But
I've looked up every single death possible.
Listen, Yeah, I believe it. So
What was the redhead girl name?
Abigail,
Yeah, if you
right?
get Abby killed, you suck.
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't deserve to die. She's the purest one. But I was obviously biased towards Emma not dying because I didn't want her to die because I was playing as her, and I was real tense. There's a part where you're like in this fucking treehouse.
Oh yeah,
That
that's where
was
she possibly dies.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like yeah. Let me just answer the trap door while I'm in my fucking underwear. That's a good idea. If it was a horror movie, that's probably what would have happened. And what's funny is that it does have that mode where you can just give everybody stats and watch it like it's a movie. I think that's really cool. That might be something I just do on my own to see what happens. But that's enough about the quarry. Miles Robbins is in it. If wait for a sale. Don't spend $70 on it like I did, but wait for a sale and go pick that one up. It's a good time, especially if you play it with friends.
Back to Halloween.
Back to Halloween 2018, another movie that you'll like if you take it for what it is, because
No, that you should
it's
like.
a slasher.
No,
It's
I'm
a
just
slasher. I never expect a lot from slashers, but I really like this one. So, a little background on the making of this one. Obviously, I went through all the special features, but there wasn't really a lot. It was just like deleted scenes. Like there's one where Laurie's doing target practice. There's another one with those two cops talking, but it's the same conversation, but they're like in front of Laurie's house instead of outside of it. And then there's just like extended dialogue scenes. It's not really anything that I found very interesting. And then there's like very short making of featurettes that are basically just like Laurie and David Gordon Green and John Carpenter, and I think Jason Blum's there too, talking about like the impact of Halloween and stuff. So nothing really about the movie, which was kind of disappointing because I wanted, to see behind the scenes stuff. Didn't really get any of that. But what we do get instead is me reading the Wikipedia article about this movie, so I could tell you about all of its the journey that it took. So after Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was a commercial and critical failure, much to the chagrin of people that liked that movie,
I don't understand.
Rob Zombie was like, "Hey, I'm not making another one. I ended it the way I wanted, so you can go fuck yourself." And then Harvey Weinstein was like, "All right, well, we're gonna make another one anyway." And they were gonna make Halloween 3D. I remember when this was announced, and I remember thinking that's stupid. And
Yeah.
initially nobody from the original was gonna be in it, until Scout Taylor Compton signed on before it got canned. And it was going to retcon it to where, I think I mentioned it in the Halloween 2 episode, it was going to retcon it to where, like, she kills Loomis instead of Michael killing Loomis. And it was going to start up, and then it didn't. It got canceled, and then it got canceled because they wanted to work on Drive Angry. Wow, I didn't even... Oh, because the directors of Drive Angry were going to direct Halloween 3D. So he delayed it so that way they could finish Drive Angry. And then it didn't go through. And then they were going to be like, well, let's make another Hellraiser. And then that didn't happen. And then it eventually got like kind of canned altogether. But there were, in 2012, there was a different script that came out that was just going to be called Halloween, much like this. And it was going to be a continuation of Resurrection. And it was going to be Michael Myers breaking free from death row, which, okay, my man's a charred piece of meat at the end of Resurrection. Death row, how are you going to kill him? That doesn't like, obviously if he survived getting fucking burned to death, I don't think an electric chair or a lethal injection is going to stop him. Also, he has like super strength in those movies. So like, what do you? That's I don't see. I wouldn't have liked that. And then
nothing that would have used Resurrection as a jumping off point would have been any good
absolutely.
anyway.
And then Halloween 3D was picked in favor of that. And then and then because of Paranormal Activity, the Weinsteins insisted on making Halloween 3D a found footage film. Oh my fucking god! And somebody pitched a mockumentary about a series of murderers by a deranged fan taking place during the making of an in-universe film based on the original script for Halloween 3D, which now it's just Scream. Now that's just Scream, except Scream isn't a mockumentary. But that's just Scream, because you have Stab and those... Whatever. I'm glad none of these got made. And then the whole movie was scrapped, and they were like, fuck it. And then in 2015, there was another reboot that was in the works. And it was going to be called Halloween Returns. And it would have been a standalone film set to reintroduce audiences to Michael Myers years after his initial rampage from Halloween and 1981's Halloween 2, as he was confronted by a new generation of victims while on death row. Wow, they were really running with this fucking prison idea. They were really running with this prison idea. That sounds boring. Oh, cool, Michael's in prison. I don't give a shit. I'm glad this didn't happen. I'm glad. The film would have been set in 1988 and involved Michael Myers escaping his execution from a power surge and going on a rampage in the town of Russellville, Illinois. Holy shit. And then that movie got canned, obviously. Well, it was postponed at first because Malek Akkad said that the extra time would make it a better movie. This is what he said. I have to say, and this is somewhat new news, but unfortunately things happen in Hollywood where you have issues with studios and different variables. We've had to take a step back, and now we're trying to refigure this beast that is the new Halloween. So there's a bit of a delay, but this new Halloween isn't going to be quite what has been announced and what people are expecting, so we're making some changes there as well. And then, it got delayed, and then it never fucking came out. And then in 2015 also, in December, it was announced that Dimension no longer had the rights to Halloween, which was the only reason they were still making them, was so that way they could keep the rights and keep making money, which they did the same fucking thing with Hellraiser. They did the same thing with Hellraiser. That's not good. Money over art is never good. And then it was, it got canceled. Miramax got the rights, and then Blumhouse co-produced this movie with him. And so, what happened was, basically, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride wrote 2 scripts initially because they wanted to pitch 2 movies, and then they didn't. They only pitched the first one because they realized that they were going to be getting ahead of themselves. And John Carpenter was in the room when they pitched it, so it was John Carpenter, Jason Blum, and whoever the fuck from Miramax. It was because Blumhouse produced this movie. Jason Blum, thank you for bringing this series back. Please do Nightmare on Elm Street, please. And if you can't get Robert Englund, then don't fucking do it. I'm not interested in Nightmare on Elm Street if it doesn't have Robert Englund. Just let it die.
If Robert remake sucked.
If he doesn't want to do it, and we'll talk about that fucking remake. Don't worry. But so John Carpenter was in the room, and David Gordon Green was talking about it in one of the special features in one of the interviews, where he was talking about how they're giving the pitch, and John Carpenter's phone goes off, and it's the fucking Halloween theme. And he's like, and that's when it kind of hit me that we're like in the same room as fucking John Carpenter, and like we cannot fuck this up. And they didn't. And John Carpenter's involvement in this movie is part of what gave me so much hope for it.
Yeah.
Because he came back along with his son Cody, and I think what was the other guy's name? Something Davies. It was where the fuck is it? Daniel Davies helped with the music too. And there's a short featurette on that where it's just John Carpenter just doing his thing, and his son's like, man, it's just really cool to like be doing this, and the soundtrack is fantastic in this movie.
Truly,
it really helps. It really helps like elevate what's going on in this one. I am a big fan of the soundtrack for this movie. It's a lot better than the soundtrack in some of the more recent films, and that's great. But yeah, then they started writing it. I think initially they went to Adam Wingard to make it, but he declined it, which I'm glad he did, because that's the guy that directed Death Note, the American Death Note.
Gah.
You know the one, yeah.
Trash.
That awful. The best part of that movie is Willem Dafoe. Yeah, that's the best part of that movie. And Margaret Qualley's in that one, and I didn't even realize it was her until until I saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But initially, You know what's fucked up, Justin? Initially, Danielle Harris was supposed to come back as Jamie Lloyd, but they decided against it for some reason because it was going to be Jamie Lloyd was going to be Laurie's daughter, but it was going to be. But I guess they thought it would be too confusing or something. And Danielle Harris has in interviews has talked about how it kind of sucked because Laurie's daughter plays a prominent role, and to have Danielle Harris there would be really cool. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. I mean, Judy Greer does great, I think. I love Judy Greer, but it just feels like, it should have been Danielle Harris. But yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis being involved was another big thing for me with this movie. I remember the hype cycle for it. I remember when it was announced, and then I remember us not getting a trailer until fucking July. And then I remember going to see it and being very happy with it. I saw it twice in theaters because I really liked this one. This movie, like I said before, is a sequel to the original. It retcons everything that happened before in all the other movies. And it kind of goes back to the roots of what I think made the first movie great, which is it has some jump scares, sure, but it's not like H2O where it's just way too fucking many. Mm-hmm. And there's no Creed in this one because there was Creed in H2O. There was some Creed in that one that we missed because we didn't watch the credits because we just turned that shit off as soon as we could. But yeah, this one has a couple of jump scares, and it's a requel as it's called now, which is it's a reboot, but it's also a sequel. So it has a lot of callbacks to the original. But
not so much that it's in your face with it, though.
Yeah, I feel like the callbacks in this movie work for the most part. There's a couple of things that, in rewatching it just now, there's a couple of things that, kind of irked me. Like I said, the acting is a little stiff on some parts. The dialogue's a little but, at the same time, I'm not really watching it for that. It's just nice to see Michael, act like Michael again, and I think it succeeded. I think it succeeded in being a very faithful sequel to the original. What do you think, Justin? You think it succeeded in being a very faithful sequel to the original?
To me, it did. Yes, it really did.
Yeah,
because I didn't watch it in theaters when it came out, even though I was really wanting to. I forgot why I didn't at the time. But anyways, when I finally could buy the Blu-ray, I did. I remember just sitting there watching it and literally ended up on the edge of my bed just watching it because I was so into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there. This one's like the original. I think it succeeds in building tension off of stuff in the background, especially. There's shots where you can see Michael walking around in the background, and I love that. And I think the premise works. Where Michael's been locked up for 40 years. And you got these two fucking podcasters, or as what's her name? The girl.
Investigative journalists.
Yeah, we're investigative journalists, and they're British too. Isn't that great? They're British. That sounds derogatory. I'm sorry, but no, I mean they're British though. And they go and interview Laurie. They try to talk to Michael, but Michael ain't having it. And they basically set everything into motion more or less, but I think it's more Dr. Sartain that does it because there's a lot of fan theories. With this movie.
Sartain, he's responsible for this.
So there's theories that Sartain is because what happens is Michael's bus, because he's being transported to another facility that's awful, and these investigative journalists are well, we want to these investigative journalists are on the same wavelength as Sartain to an extent because Sartain thinks that Michael shouldn't be locked up forever because he should be studied and all this other stuff.
Whereas understand Michael
and the podcasters feel the same way because rehabilitation or whatever. But Michael's very clearly a fucking sociopath, so not a lot you can take from that. And that's what Laurie says as much when she's there's nothing to understand about him. He's just evil. Whatever. Fuck off.
He's not a human being to be studied.
No. He's not. He's a fucking animal. That's the point.
See, that and like we said while we were watching it, that represents the part of the fan base that I can't stand, really.
Yeah. Because that wants an excuse for everything.
Wants an excuse, wants a reason why he does this. He just does it. There's no reason. You don't need to read so much into Michael. He's just a psycho.
That's like reading a lot into Jason. Too,
like when the movie first came out and people were criticizing it, there's this one scene where Michael is finally roaming around Haddonfield. He just stops and turns and walks into a garage and gets a hammer and kills a random lady in a house. And they're like, why is he doing this randomly with no means? Like, what's the point? They're just mindlessly making him kill. What do you mean? What's the point?
He's a psychopath.
He's been locked up for 40 years.
I think Justin described it as him like getting his groove back.
He's warming up.
He's warming up, yeah. And then he gets his groove back. And yeah, I mean, that didn't bother me because, I mean, it's stated pretty openly by Sartain himself that, like, at one point in the movie that Michael probably, like, has, like, all he knows is moving and killing. That's all he knows. And, I mean, yeah, if you watch the first movie, that's what it feels like. So, I mean, I think it's faithful. And that's what made the original one so effective, is that there wasn't a reason to it. And I know I talked about this in that original episode, but there's no reason to Michael killing people, and that's what makes it scary, is that Michael's just a crazy guy, just going around killing people. And that's something that John Carpenter's really good at, I think, as a horror director, is taking stuff like that and really not explaining too much of it to where it works, right? Side note on John Carpenter, I want to talk about something. There's this guy on Twitter who Nope came out, right? The new Jordan Peele movie, which I still need to see. And I'm excited to see that one. Probably going to see that one this weekend.
Take a big nope on that one.
Yeah, I guess.
His movies are overrated to me. I don't care.
I guess. But
Get Out was fine, but
Get Out was
after
good.
that,
I liked Us a lot. I kind of view them like Twilight Zone episodes, right? So I watched Us before I watched Get Out. So like I feel like that's probably why I like Us so much, because a lot of people did the opposite and they really liked Get Out and they didn't like Us, and I liked Us a lot. So that's why I'm kind of excited for Nope. But there was this guy on Twitter who was using Rotten Tomatoes scores, I might add, to justify that Jordan Peele was a great horror director, which I'm not going to dispute that he's a great horror director, but he was trying to say that he was one of the greatest of all time. And Jordan Peele himself responded to him and said, "Please, sir, I beg of you, put the phone down." And then he said, like, I love your enthusiasm, but I'm not going to let you disrespect John Carpenter like that. And then, everybody in the comments was like flaming him and being like, John Carpenter's right there. He's one of the best, most prolific horror directors of all time. And then he's like, well, Halloween's a stone cold classic, but all his other stuff is just meh or whatever. And then somebody listed The Thing, Christine, Prince of Darkness, and The Mouth of Madness, fucking The Fog. Like, all those movies are like, they're not like I guess what you would consider a classic to the contemporary critic, but they're good horror movies, and it's a really good run that he had, especially with The Thing, which was critically panned at release and now is like one of the best fucking horror movies ever, and even to contemporary critics. And this guy, you know what this guy did? He responded with the Rotten Tomatoes scores of those movies, and then just put that emoji that's like baring its teeth as if like, I don't know about that. And I'm like, God, imagine basing your enjoyment of a movie on the fucking Rotten Tomatoes score. Could not be me. I used to be like that, but they could not fucking
dumbass.
Be me at this point. That's just like, John Carpenter's right there. And I mean, yeah, I like Jordan Peele's movies, but like even Jordan Peele's like, nah, dude, John Carpenter's like one of the best. I'm not even close to that. But yeah, I'm excited to see Nope. Maybe we'll cover all of those sometimes. They'll probably be one-offs still. I'm not going to do that as a series.
Yeah, that's not a series.
Yeah, so we do Get Out, then we do Us, and then we do Nope, and then whatever the fuck else Jordan Peele makes. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that because that's been bugging me, and I wanted to tell you about it at some point because it made me mad that somebody was like, nah, this is not good. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing?
That's like somebody that takes IGN's rating system seriously.
Yeah, that's
like, get the fuck out
of here. That's
what
that sounds like. Rotten Tomatoes is not the be all end all of film.
I don't know why criticism. I follow IGN. It just makes me mad every time I see a post from them.
Listen. We're not gonna let's. Yeah, because they didn't like this one or Halloween Kills. Anyway, we're gonna get into that. But anyway, Halloween. Back to Halloween. I don't remember what I was talking about because I got off on that tangent. But yeah, you have the podcasters and Dr. Sartain represent to me the people that like want an excuse for why Michael's a killer, and to both of us actually. And there explicitly when Dr. Sartain gets killed, and he says, Michael, like, why do you do it, or whatever the fuck he says, and then Michael squishes him, and
No, he tells him to speak.
to speak, right? Yeah,
One more
okay, so
time.
that's the part. Yeah, speak, and then Michael's just like, fuck you,
Stomp.
it's boot, bitch. It's but yeah, I think it succeeds in kind of going back to the roots of what made Halloween so iconic in the first place. And that was, I think that was David Gordon Green and Danny McBride's intention from the beginning, which is why I'm happy they made it. A lot of people I remember when it came out, a lot of people that I know of complained about some of the dialogue, and I can see where they're coming from, but it was especially the jokes. They didn't like the jokes. Like the guy at the beginning who's driving his kid, and the kid's talking about dance class or whatever. They felt that was unnecessary and stupid, and I'm like, I mean, it's whatever. Like, you want them to just be quiet?
It's a
like,
kid and his dad talking.
like it's a kid and his dad talking. Yeah, it's whatever. And that the whole point of that is to just set up what happens next, which is the bus being overturned, and then the cops talking about peanut butter jelly sandwiches and banh mi's or whatever. They didn't like that. They thought the little kid with Vicky that Vicky was babysitting was annoying, which I don't think so.
I feel like most of these
it's comic relief, like, and
most
it's
of
fine.
these criticisms just sound like people who haven't watched the other ones.
Yeah, like it's like and I'm gonna say this again when we cover Scream, but it's like when people saw Scream 2022. And they were like, oh, this movie thinks it's so smart because it's like, haha, get it? Reference, pop culture reference, haha, ooh, we're meta. We're saying that this is bad, and then we're doing it. And I'm like, I'm reading this comment, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, did this dude not watch the other fucking movies? Because every Scream movie is literally just that. Like, every single one. And even in the first Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, there's some hokey dialogue in that. Like, and there's comic relief in that too. Like, that's just part of it, but I wasn't really bothered by any of that. I don't think this is like on the same level as John Carpenter's Halloween, but it's worthy is how I view it. But yeah, the dialogue stuff didn't bother me. Like, I liked the kid that Vicky was babysitting. I thought he was funny. Also, I forgot to mention PJ Souls, Linda from John Carpenter's Halloween is the woman talking about fate when Allison's in the classroom. And she looks outside and she sees Laurie, which is a callback to when Laurie saw Michael, which was called back in called back in H2O when that one student saw Michael, and then which was called back in Rob Zombie's Halloween when they were in the library and they looked outside and
like a cluster of callbacks.
It's a lot of callbacks. This is like the third reboot. There's gonna be
what
a lot
did
of
she
callbacks.
say? Sometimes fate's path is like gets distorted or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
It changes.
Yeah, which again kind of fits in with this.
I like the pumpkin at the beginning too. It's like
Yes.
it's dead and then it reforms. Like, this is the revival of the series.
Yes.
I love that.
If there's one thing, like if there's anything, like, you can hate this movie all you want, but you have to admit the soundtrack and the aesthetic of it are fantastic. And I mean, by aesthetic, I mean the aesthetic of that opening sequence of the retro font. Oh my god. And then the theme playing as the pumpkins regenerating. That I love that so much.
They were like, maybe we've been down too long.
Listen, nobody's gonna get that, Justin. All right,
People who like Slipknot will get
it. No, I didn't even get it. All right. Anyway, Slipknot.
You
whatever.
didn't listen to the song 15 times in a row like
yeah,
I did.
Justin really likes Slipknot. That's what we're learning today. We already knew that though. We've talked about it before. But so one of the big themes of this movie is Laurie, is seeing what happened to Laurie in those 40 years. And in H2O, she's in hiding. She's got a different name, whatever. But she's also, like, somewhat convinced that Michael's dead. In Halloween 2018, she's taken it upon herself to basically fortify her home, rob her daughter of her childhood, to train her for the day that Michael escapes, which is something that she says she prayed for, and then Hawkins tells her that's a dumb thing to pray for, which I think is one of the hokiest lines, if we're being honest, but at the same time, it's a slasher, I'll forgive it. So yeah, Laurie spends these 40 years preparing, and it's a typical, everybody's like, no, it's not going to happen, Michael's getting transferred or whatever, it was all for nothing, and then he escapes, and it's like, well, fuck you, I was right. But I think that makes sense for Laurie's character, but she's also like obsessed with the idea that Michael was specifically coming for her, and that's what it seems like. There's a lot of dialogue that hints at that. Like there's that what George meowed at me. I'm sorry. There's that part with Oscar, which is one of Allison's friends, who's like sees Michael. And he's like, I just really like her, and I can't have her. You ever have a girl that you really like but you can't have? And Michael's just like staring at him, and he's like, you motherfucker, like I would love to hear Michael's internal monologue, by the way, throughout all these movies, because I know it's got to be something. It's got to be something special just to hear him like as he's like decorating and setting up these corpses. Just to hear him be like, okay, this is perfect. I love it. Like I just want to hear that. I want to imagine that. But and that's what it seems like with this one, that he's coming for her. And, there's a part where Laurie is because she like knows that Michael's getting transferred. So she drives her pickup truck to the, to the state hospital. And she like watches the bus leave. Now, if I was Laurie, if I was that traumatized and I was like, I'm going to make sure this motherfucker gets transferred with no incident. I cannot, because I wouldn't be able to sleep, right? I would have just followed the bus and then when something went wrong, immediately shot Michael in the head or in the face or whatever. Just shot him. That's what I would have done. But instead she goes to like some family gathering.
Wanted to be there for Allison.
I mean, and I get that. I get it.
Plus she was drunk.
Yeah, I get it, but like at the same time, I'm just built different, is what I'm saying. But that's it's a horror movie. People are gonna make silly decisions.
But and I like that the other thing too is like people reading too much into the reasoning. I like how Kills gets rid of that too.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that with Halloween Kills more. But yeah, that's why I'm saying in this one it seems like he's still going after Laurie.
Puts more emphasis on the fate thing.
Yes. But that's something I wanted to ask. Do you think Michael remembers Laurie? Because
I think he remembers her.
It's been like 40 years.
But I don't think
right?
he gives a shit to the extent that people want to believe he cares.
Yeah, including people in that universe. Laurie herself. And that's something she realizes in Kills too, which again we'll talk about when we get to Kill.
Michael just sees a target. He ended up there. That's who he's after.
I think I remember reading that somebody described Michael like a great white shark. It just goes after whatever, and that's why he killed those random people at the beginning of this one. But yeah, I really like this one. I hate it when I really like a movie because there's not a lot to say about it. There's not a lot to talk about. So that's why I'm trying to think of theories and stuff.
I mean, I can say stuff.
That we could talk about. Yeah, say stuff, Justin. Say stuff. What do you got to say? Huh?
This movie was just good. Like all the people that I've been saying, I don't understand. I mean, I get you can criticize it for whatever you want, but to read so much into it and to dive so deep that you end up making yourself hate it is just ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, I do the same thing with a bunch of shit, but I try to keep a level-headed mindset when I do it.
Not always.
Not always. I get super fanboy over shit, but not to the point where I'm gonna make myself hate it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Especially with a movie like this, it's simple. You don't need to do that stupid fucking video I showed you on YouTube.
Okay. Before we get to that, let me just say the simplicity is part of what I really love about this too, which is what I talked about with the original. But yeah, let's talk about this one where this guy thought that Michael was Ghostface. Let's talk about that.
Stupid video I found on YouTube one day that was like, "There's no such thing as a Michael Myers. Michael is just an idea. Anyone who puts on that mask is Michael. There's no way we can believe that this 60-year-old guy is the Michael from the original movie." This dude made an hour-long video about this, and it pissed me off so fucking much because it made zero sense.
So, okay.
He goes on to say, the doctor is Michael. It's just because of one scene where that idiot puts the mask on.
Which is my least favorite scene of the movie, I want to say that. But, because that's something, we need to go into the negatives at some point, and that is one of them. But, so, when Justin showed me this video, I thought of two things. I thought of V for Vendetta, and how V says at the end of that one, spoilers for a fucking almost 20-year-old movie, sorry, but how V says in that one, you know, uh, when he kills what's his name, I can't remember the line exactly. COVID fucked my brain. I'm sorry, but he says that you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea because ideas are bulletproof. He says something to that effect, right? So that's what I thought of initially when he said that. And then after watching Scream, I'm like, oh, this dude thinks he's fucking Ghostface. Because Ghostface is an idea. Ghostface, anybody can be fucking Ghostface. Literally, fucking anybody can be Ghostface. And like, it works with that. But that's not who Michael is. Michael, to me, see, Rob Zombie, for love or hate those movies, which I'm in the middle with both of them. Like I've the more I think about the two of them, the more I like them, which they're growing on me because I recognize them as something different, and I have to recognize that Rob Zombie at least tried to do something different, and he had ambition, and even if that ambition isn't always good, it's still interesting to see somebody's idea, you know what I mean? And the fact that he made it his own completely, I respect that to no end. And I appreciate what the movies are going for, but there's just too much Rob Zombie shit in the middle of it for me to really like it. Like, for me to, like, love it, right? So that's why I'm just kind of, like, torn with those two movies. But one thing that he said in the commentary was that he always saw Michael as a big child. Somebody that never developed past the age of, like, 10, which is when he killed Judith. And I still think that holds true, because if you watch his movements in this movie, he's very, like, stilted. And you could say, well, that's just because he's old, but, like, he moves like a fucking toddler. Like he always walks with his legs wide apart, and he, like, moves his whole body instead of his head, like, for the most part. And he tilts his head like a curious kid. And I think that was something that was evident in the original, too. In John Carpenter's original, I think that's something that was evident, too. So that's how I view Michael. He's a big fucking kid that, and I'm giving my mom a lot of ammo here, because you know my mom, she's like, they just need to leave Michael alone. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, but if they leave Michael alone, he's still gonna fucking kill people. That's the point. But Michael, to me, I agree with Rob Zombie's take on that he's just a big kid. He's not a fucking idea. That part where the doctor puts the mask on, I remember sitting in the theater, Justin, and I remember thinking, when he put that shit on, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh fuck no, please. I'm like, please don't do this to me. Don't make it to where, like, it's some fucking Metal Gear Solid 2 shit. Like, don't fucking do this to me. And they didn't. Thank fucking God they didn't. But Allison's, like, reaction to that always gets me, because it almost sounds like she's laughing. She does that, like, 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 it almost sounds like a very fake scream, and it always kind of makes me laugh. But in that part, he's obsessed with Michael, so, like, the more I sat on that, the more I was like, okay, I'm kind of okay with it, but I still think the visual is stupid. I would have rather he just kind of, like, didn't put it on, but, like, maybe just held it up or something, because he looks fucking doofy with it on. But whatever, it's not that long in the movie. It does not ruin the movie for me at all. That's, like, the biggest negative I can think of, though, is that fucking scene. I know a lot of people, I remember hearing complaints about, like, the dance, just like the character. A lot of people don't like the characters in this movie in general. I think all the characters are pretty good. I don't think there's a single character in this or Kills that I really, like, dislike, for the most part. There's characters that I think are a little annoying and that don't have a lot to say, but I don't think that they're, like, necessarily bad characters, especially in this one. Like, I like Allison. I like her boyfriend's kind of a douche, but I like him too. I liked Vicky. She didn't deserve what happened to her. She did not deserve what happened to her at all. She's the Annie. She's the Annie of this one.
I think people's complaint could come from the fact that unlike the original, they didn't spend a lot of time, like, on the kids.
Yeah.
So you didn't really, like,
the original was a lot more about the tension and the foreboding sense of what's to come.
Because essentially this movie is about Michael and Laurie. Everyone else is an extra right now.
See, because that's the difference between the two. Is like John Carpenter's original. John Carpenter thrives on, like, atmosphere. He thrives on the atmosphere of horror. The Thing has great gory practical effects, but what really makes that movie for me is the tension and the sense of paranoia that you get. And every time I watch that movie, I still can't fucking get the timeline down of who gets infected and who is infected, and, like, I still get fucking tense. And the same thing happens with John Carpenter's Halloween. I still get tense because John Carpenter's really good at building that atmosphere. And The Fog, even in They Live, which is more of an action movie, even in They Live, he's still really good at building that atmosphere. Christine, same thing. Prince of Darkness, same thing. John Carpenter really thrives on that. This is a more contemporary take on that, so I feel like if it was, honestly, this movie feels like what Halloween would be like if it was made in the modern era, because it has a lot of modern slasher conventions. Which that's another complaint that I've heard about this movie is that one of the complaints was, well, there's not a lot you're going to be getting from this movie that you can't get from a million other slashers. And that's fine, I guess, but, like, that's like when Predators came out and everybody was like, it's just a fucking rehash of Predator. And I'm like, what do you expect from a fucking Predator movie? Like, the Predator's going to hunt people down? That's what's going to happen. Like, what do you, there's no breaking the mold with something like that.
Yeah, but let's not get into Predator, because with Prey coming out, and I've been reading some dumbass comments.
Yeah, we're going to go off on a whole other fucking tangent on that.
I wrote a long ass comment on one thing the other day, and it was like,
no.
Don't get me started.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's not talk about, but with something like Halloween, like, there's not really, like, the biggest complaint with long-running franchises like this is they're like, oh, well, it gets old. Well, yeah. It's going to get tired because there's not a lot you can do with the premise of crazy guy kills people. But again, it's about the characters for me. It's about the aesthetic. It's about the soundtrack. It's about the kills, obviously. I mean, though they're great in this one.
Everyone just like has such a spoiled mindset about like movies, video games, and shit now. It's like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like we came from a better part being younger and we had less expectation to look forward to.
We're old men.
Yeah, it's almost 30. But anyways, like I said earlier too, it's like half the people that are criticizing it didn't watch the originals or had no bother to even like look at it more than, oh, this is cheap, this is dumb, the dialogue weak, blah blah blah. It's like there's subtle shit in the movie you got to look at. Yeah. To like appreciate it more.
Yeah. Cuz like I mean, I don't really watch horror movies to get scared. Horror movies make me tense sometimes, but I don't really watch them to like because I want to be scared. I watch them because I like the characters or I like the killers or whatever because I think they're interesting for one reason or another, you know. And what's always interested me about Michael is the fact that he's just a dude, just a dude that likes to kill people. That's it, and that's his whole fucking character, and that's all I need from him. But yeah, I feel like, and like, I know, I know there's some people that say, well, you know, just because you can forgive the fault of a movie doesn't mean it doesn't have faults. And I'm like, I know that. But like, for me personally, I used to be like really stingy about movies. I used to be real pretentious about them. I used to be a real stickler about like, oh, this movie doesn't have like this in it, so I'm not gonna like it. But nowadays, I'm just like, whatever, man. It's a fucking movie. Like for slashers, especially, I forgive a lot of shit because I'm watching a slasher for the thrills and for, you know, everything I had already said. But yeah, with this one, I mean, it's not a lot. There's not a lot there to read into, and I feel like for some reason that bothers people. Like I've seen the same thing with people when people talk about how a movie has a message, but like it's not a subtle message, or there's only there's only one way to interpret certain movies. Like there's a horror movie that came out pretty recently called Men that was like that, where it has a very clear like way to interpret it, and they're like, well, there's no other way to interpret it, like it's boring. And I'm like,
that woke piece of shit.
But it doesn't need. Yeah, people say that about it too, which is completely wrong. That's not at all what the movie's about. People are just dumb. But it's like they just want to be like, oh, well, we want movies to be complex, and that's fine. I used to be like that too, but like, if a movie just has one interpretation, that's okay too. Like a movie doesn't have to be this multi-layered, multifaceted thing for it to still be entertaining. And that's at the end of the day, that's why I don't rate movies on my Letterboxd or like even my favorite movies. I don't rate them on technical merit or anything like that. I rate them on how much I enjoy them. Now, I could enjoy them because of certain technical merits, but I rate my movies based on how much I enjoy them, not how many fucking Dutch angles are in them or some shit like that.
When me and my mom and brother went to see Thor the other
Love
day.
and Thunder, yeah.
And Josh was just like, "Oh, it was just a joke movie. There was nothing else but jokes."
Yeah.
Blah, blah. There's a clear underlining message in that movie the entire time. It's about like death, moving on, and acceptance of who you are and what you can do with what you got left.
Yeah.
It was like he couldn't see that.
Yeah.
Past the little jokes that happen here and there.
Which I mean, yeah, and even if it was just a joke movie, that's fine if you were entertained by it. It's okay to like terrible movies. Like, not saying that Thor: Love and Thunder is terrible because I haven't seen it yet, but it's okay to like bad movies. I like fucking bad movies all the time. I love fucking shitty movies. Nobody fucking likes Death Proof from fucking Grindhouse, and I love Death Proof. So, like, it's okay to like bad movies for one reason or another, because if it's entertaining, that's all I care about. And Halloween 2018 is very entertaining to me for a multitude of different reasons.
Yep.
One of them being the technical merits of the soundtrack being absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
But I think this is a solid sequel. I wasn't expecting the original. I was just expecting something that was worthy of a follow-up.
See, that's the other problem too. A bunch of people were expecting the original to like, oh, this is gonna be perfect, and
it's the same problem with Get Out and Us. To go back to that, where people saw Get Out and they really liked it, and Get Out's great. I like it a lot, but I think Us is just as good in some ways. They're both flawed in different ways, but I think Us is just as good in some ways. I see it again like Twilight Zone episodes. You had too many people comparing it to Get Out, and I think that's unfair because it's a totally different movie to Get Out. You can't really compare the two. Now, you can compare movies within franchises, sure, but like even then, this is a completely different movie from something like Halloween 5 or Halloween 4. But it's still within the same franchise, so like, it's easier to compare. But yeah, a lot of people expect the original. They go into a movie with a preconceived notion, and then they walk out disappointed because in their head the movie was completely different. And that's something that I've tried not to do as much as I used to, because I stopped enjoying movies when I kept doing that. And I think that's partially why I enjoyed this one so much, because I just went into it expecting like just a fun slasher, and that's what I got. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. And that's why I've started going into movies blind now. I don't even watch trailers to movies I want to watch anymore, because I just want to be like go in naked. You know what I mean?
I'll watch the trailers, but I won't watch any videos that like overly review the trailers, because just seeing thumbnails alone of stuff people are saying about Halloween Ends, it's pissing me off.
Yeah, I just want to see what's gonna happen. I don't need to watch a whole fucking 30-minute video on it. But if there's one thing this movie definitely got a resurgence in, it was in the kills. I really like the kills in this movie, so let's talk about them. Why don't we?
Yep.
Why don't we talk about them? There's a lot in these. In this one, I feel like I don't write down the kills anymore. I'm just going off of my head.
I got it. I remember them all.
Yeah, Justin's watched this movie a lot. I mean, I've watched this movie a few times. I feel like I'm going to remember most of them.
I can't repeat my mistake from Halloween 4.
From Bucky. What was that dude's name? Bucky?
Bucky.
But it was Bucky, right? Yeah. Poor
Never
guy.
forget.
I don't give me none of that Halloween shit. And then he just fucking throws him into a fucking generator or something.
Anyways, so like we said originally, this movie started out with those two journalists, Aaron and the girl. I don't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either.
I don't think they ever said it.
Was Aaron the girl's name?
No, Aaron was the guy.
Hold on. This is gonna bother me if I don't fucking look it up. I'm sorry. Hold on. Get away. No, fuck you, iPhone.
She screams his name like twice when he goes into the bathroom to save her.
You're right. So this is gonna be like, this is the part of the show where we usually talk about the kills, and then
a brief summary of the movie
like a light summary to justify talking about the kills, I guess.
Yo, this monster has got me fucking.
So Justin hasn't drank a Monster in months, and then he got depressed and he relapsed, as all good men do. So that's what we've done. Where the fuck are the fucking...
Well, I just never thought dishwashing would be a job that tired me out.
Donna Haynes. That's the name of the woman, and Aaron Corey, yeah.
Donna Haynes?
So Dana. Fuck Dana. Me. It's Dana, like Dana Scully. I'm sorry, Pablo. I know you're listening to this.
So they're not a couple.
It's Dana Haynes.
I don't fucking know.
But yeah, so they're podcasters or investigative journalists, as she says.
Yeah, Aaron and Dana go to the Smith Grove to meet with Dr. Sartain,
and he's all like,
see Michael.
And he's all like, "Yes, I'm Dr. Sartain. I studied under Loomis, and you could see Michael over here next to Umbrella Man."
Monkeys.
Yeah.
Hey, Umbrella Man is the one
next to who? What'd you say? What'd you say?
monkeys.
Next to monkeys.
They're treating him like a zoo animal.
Okay, thank God. Okay, because I was like, Justin, am I gonna have to cut something again?
No,
like, okay.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, I was like, Christ. Okay, they were treating him like a zoo animal. Yeah, because they were even like, don't step past the line. Okay, we're good.
So anyway, Aaron tries to like get him to talk, and is like, oh, blah blah blah, this. We need to study you.
Pulls the mask out. Yeah.
I have something here. He's
And-
like, say something. Say something.
Oh, and I love this part because I like how the energy
Yeah.
just changes. Like you have the guy saying "Frigaro," and then you got Umbrella Man laughing. You got that other guy snarling and shit. It's like being at a metal concert, if I'm being honest.
Dog starts
And-
barking.
Yeah, metal concert. Yeah, exactly. So and then he's like holding the mask, and it's like this build up,
Screaming.
and he's like,
Say
say it, and then
something.
it hard cuts to the fucking theme and the title credits, and I clipped it. I'm sorry, I clipped the audio. Forgive me, but yeah, and then it hard cuts to the theme, and oh man, I'm never gonna forget seeing that shit in theaters and just getting goosebumps, like just being like, yeah, I know George, I know little Bubby. That's my cat. I'm sorry.
Oh, and I like that they finally fixed a mistake that every other movie didn't fix.
Which was
Michael's eye.
yeah. Michael's eye is damaged. You can see the hole in his neck from when Laurie stabbed him with the coat hanger. Like, and I love those little details, man. Oh my god. Like talking about the summary is gonna give me shit to talk about. We should have done this earlier, but we went off on too many tangents. But that's what podcasts are. We're just two bros talking.
You know, I've been waiting to talk about this one in Kills.
Yeah,
for
I
the
know.
longest time.
I know. So then, yeah, we have that. We have that happen. I love the little details there. And then they go to talk to Laurie. Laurie tells them to go fuck themselves.
How does $3,000 sound?
And then she opens the gate. Yeah. And then we get introductions to Karen, which is Laurie's daughter, and Allison, Laurie's granddaughter.
Well, you skipped the great part where Laurie's like, he's not a human that needs to
Oh
be studied.
yeah. But I thought we already talked about that earlier. But let's.
But I
run
liked
over
how
it again.
also they were trying to be dicks about her like personal life.
Yeah, so this is something that I like about this movie too. Is it kind of touches on how true crime podcasters will embellish certain details of a case, and they will also like just make things hyperbolic or try to twist the truth to make it more interesting. Because there's a part where they go to visit Judith Meyer's grave after Michael breaks out, and they're looking at her grave, and the dude's running. The dude's like explaining what happened while they're showing the scene from the original movie. And the scene in the original movie isn't too graphic. Like, he just stabs her like 2 times in the chest, and then she goes down. And you can hear Aaron like doing this embellishment where he's like, he scraped the back of her skull and touched her spinal cord with the knife, and then she turned around, put her hands up to defend herself, and he stabbed her 2 times, and then when she was on the floor, he stabbed her once more on the sternum. Now, when I watched it when it came out, I thought, oh, they're retconning this? What the fuck? But then watching it now, I realized, oh, it's a commentary on how podcasters, especially true crime podcasters, will embellish certain details to like really like get the listener squirming and shit, you know. And I like that bit of it because that's exactly what they try to do with Laurie, where they bring up her failure as a mother, or her perceived failure as a mother, because Karen got taken away from Laurie when she was 12, and you know, and there's that line where Laurie says, "I never got custody back, but you already knew that." Like, you know, because if they're investigative journalists, then that means they did the fucking research. And then he's like, and all they wanted Laurie for was for the clout, like for the, we want you to talk to Michael to say everything that you've always wanted to say to him. Like well, this
maybe he'll talk to you.
Like this is fucking Texas Chainsaw 2022. like, do you remember me? No? What the fuck? No, I don't. Go away. I'm sad. My mom's dead. Anyway, so back to Halloween. I just keep going off on tangents. I'm sorry, but we have so then they go off. We get to the night where Michael breaks out, which is where we get introduced to that dad and that kid. The kid that nobody likes because he likes to dance or whatever. Good for him, by the way. I mean, well, not anymore, but we'll get to that. But they're driving, and they see the bus tipped over. Now, there's that fan theory that Sartain, that I mentioned earlier, that Sartain killed the bus driver, and that's what set everything in motion to let Michael get out. So what happens is this dad is like taking his son hunting, I guess, is what they're doing. And they see the bus, and it's a callback to that original scene in 1978 where Nurse Marion and Loomis are driving to Smith's Grove, and they see all the all the
when did they start letting them walk around?
patients. Yeah, when they start letting them walk around, they never did. So it's a callback to that, and then the dad foolishly. I would have, again, I'm built different. I would have just fucking turned around. I fuck that shit. I'm not. I see fucking crazy people walking around, like clinically insane people. I'm not gonna fucking get out. Fuck that. I'm just gonna call the cops and drive away. And it's funny because the dad's like, call the cops, son. Bitch, you call the cops and fucking drive away. What are you doing, you idiot? Again, slasher movie. It's gonna be stupid. I still love this movie anyway. But so then he gets out, kid calls 911, and then his dad disappears, as you knew he was going to. And then the kid gets out, doesn't take the keys, doesn't lock the car. Classic kid behavior.
He grabbed a gun at least.
He did grab a gun, so he was almost smart. And he walks out, comes across a cop that's dying, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta run, kid! Fucking run! You gotta get fucking murdered or whatever." And then he goes. He doesn't listen to that advice. He's looking for his dad. He goes inside the bus, and then Sartain pops up like a fucking Jack in the Box, and he's like, "Don't shoot!" And he gets shot in the fucking chest, and then the kid like freaks out and runs back to the car, and then Michael's in the back seat, and Michael kills a fucking kid, and I was like,
that's
jeez.
first, well, technically second kill of the movie because he kills the dad first.
Yeah. Is this the first time Michael's killed a kid? Barring the Rob Zombie movies, is this the first time Michael's killed a kid? Like in these movies? I don't think he's killed a kid before then. No.
He's attempted to, but he never got it.
Yeah. So yeah, he kills
Jamie. He tried to kill her, but
he just breaks his neck, and he dies. And then he drives. I'm assuming he just dumps the kid's body. I don't know what he does with the body. And then he drives off. And then we get that scene where they're at the cemetery. The podcasters are at the cemetery, oh no! Before that is when Hawkins goes to investigate the bus, right? Yeah, it has to be. So Hawkins goes to investigate the bus. He's playing pinball at some fucking like hole in the wall burger place. Probably reminds me of.
It was a convenience store.
Was it a convenience store?
Yeah.
Well, it reminded me of 2M's. R.I.P. 2M's. If you're from where I'm from, you know what that is, and it's gonna make you sad to hear that. But he's playing pinball. He gets the call. He goes. He finds the kid's dad, who's with his fucking neck just
bent backwards.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's an internal decapitation because like his neck was like his bone was like sticking. It's fucking gruesome. And then he goes inside and finds Sartain. There's a couple of dead cops too, and he finds Sartain, and he's like, "Did he escape?" And then he's like, "Who the fuck you? I'm just here, guy. Like, what are you talking about?" And then he takes the body away, whatever, or he takes Sartain away to heal. And then we get some scenes where they figure out that Michael's missing, and then we get that scene in the cemetery where Michael's hanging out by the tree, and the groundskeeper sees him, and she's like, all right, that's crazy. It's a guy in a white outfit. I'm not gonna touch that. And then he goes away and follows the podcasters because they still have his mask. They also have a tape recorder of Loomis talking about how Michael should die that they listened to earlier in the movie. That's one of the deleted scenes too, by the way. I forgot about that. There's a deleted scene where the two podcasters are in the hotel room and Dana's taking a shower or whatever, and then fucking stupid ass Aaron puts the mask on and tries to do a psycho on her, and then he like spooks her, and then they just get in the shower and make out or whatever for like a few seconds. That's it. That's the whole fucking scene. And I guess that was to establish that they were lovers too. But they stop at this like hybrid mechanic gas station, and they start showing their Britishness. Because
Dana goes in to ask where the loo is.
Yeah, where's the loo? And then
he's like, "What?"
And he's like, "What?
Bathroom."
You fucking Yankee, what? And then she's like, "The bathroom." And he's like, "It's fucking around the corner. Go
see
away."
Michael roll up on him.
And then Michael rolls up on him and just starts strolling. I love it. I love how he's just like casually strolling in the background. I always love those shots.
The best part of the scene. The little halfway part, best part.
The old lady
is like Aaron's filling up his car with gas, and this woman's just staring at him, just not blinking. And then you hear in the background Michael killing one of the mechanics and something drops and her eyes just quickly shift over.
They shift over and then they go back to him, but he like puts up the peace sign first, which is even funnier. Oh my god, I love it. But yeah, he's just beating the shit out of this mechanic with his hand, and then you find out that the clerk that was like, what, to Dana gets his fucking jaw broken over a counter. You see the aftermath, but like, and then that's where Michael gets all these teeth that he needs for his next trick, which is when he follows Dana into the bathroom, and she's taking a whiz or whatever, and this is a callback to H2O, obviously, and he's like peeking through the stall like gaps, like he's a creepy man. And
shakes the door, then makes it like he left, and then comes back, holds his hand over the top of the door, and drops all the teeth.
And I'm just like, oh my god! And then she starts freaking out, understandably. And Michael starts trying to get her. She's able to lock herself in a stall, but then Aaron comes in, and he gets fucking bodied very quickly.
Beat the fuck up.
He gets his head bashed against the wall multiple times.
Then against
the stall
door.
And then the stall breaks open, and Michael just like throws him off to the side, and I'm assuming he dies of blunt force trauma to the head, and then he strangles Dana and breaks her neck, and then he goes to his back. He goes to the trunk. He goes to the trunk of the car, gets the mask, puts it on, and he's like, "Hell yeah!"
I love that scene so much.
Yeah, it's because the music. It's a piano. It's theme on piano. It's very very somber.
Just like he's reuniting with an old friend.
Yeah, it's such a good scene.
Part of him that was missing.
And then Laurie gets wind that he escaped, and I'm trying to think of when the next kill is because I don't remember. Oh, that's when he goes walking, right? That's when he goes walking down the street, and it's a one shot take, which is awesome. And he's walking down the neighborhood. He runs into the 3 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 3 more days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Yeah, and he does that, and he he runs into them. And they look up at him and they're like, whoa! And they're not like the kid in Halloween 2 that's like, are you a giant? None of that
Halloween
shit.
2.
None of that shit. And he runs, and he doesn't run. Michael doesn't run. What's wrong with me? He walks into a tool shed, gets a hammer, goes inside and kills this bitch with curlers in her hair. And she dies, unfortunately. You don't see it, you just hear it. It's an off-screen kill. But you do see her dead body. And I like how immediately after he kills her, he just drops the hammer and gets a knife. And then he's walking. There's a baby crying. He looks at it, thinks about it, and then he just keeps walking. Goes outside, runs into 2 characters that we'll see more of in the sequel. And then my favorite shot in this scene is when he's going into this one house, and there's this woman on the phone, and Michael like steps in front of the window on the porch, and he like crouches down, and you see his mask in the reflection of the window. It's awesome. I love that shot so much. And then I like to imagine that he's got like "Don't Stop Me Now" playing in his head while he's walking around the house, and you just see him just taking around. He's just walking around, and then he stabs her through the throat, through the back of the neck. There's another cut of this scene where he like slits her throat. And it's not on the Blu-ray. I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing it. That was an alternate cut of that scene. But he stabs her.
Well, at first he slams her head.
Yeah, he slams her head on the thing. That's right.
Into something, and then picks her head back up while she's stunned and just knife through the neck.
Yeah, and then she dies very quickly. And then he just goes for a stroll. And at this point, Vicky's babysitting, and Allison and Cameron are at this dance. They're going as gender-bent Bonnie and Clyde. And they both look great.
Cameron just wanted to wear a dress.
He looked good in it, though. He looked great. Justin. All right? Don't give me that. Anyway, so and Allison looked good in her fucking, what'd you call the guy from Jurassic
reminded
Park?
Me of John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
John Hammond cosplay. Yeah, she looks great in that. And drama ensues in there because she finds Cameron making out with some other girl.
Because he's like, I'm going to be drunk.
Yeah, I'm going to be drunk. It was me. And then he makes out with some other girl, and then that goes south. She loses her phone in the process.
No, he throws her phone in some cheese.
And it just makes a little noise. It's funny. I love it. And then meanwhile, Vicky's babysitting this kid that she really likes, which makes her death even more painful for me. And then Dylan, her boyfriend,
Dan.
Is it Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Here, her boyfriend, who's played by Miles Robbins, and he got a tattoo on his arm that was 10/31/18 because he's a simp. And
Oh wait, there's a part earlier that I liked, a line he said when they first get introduced.
I forgot about
Where
that.
they're all talking about like, why isn't Halloween just canceled in this town? And he's like, why? Because of the whole Michael Myers stuff. And he's like, by today's standards, that's kind of lighthearted and not really such a big deal.
Yeah, in this timeline, Columbine has happened, 9/11 has fucking happened. Like, all these terrible things have happened. And they're just like, oh, but 5 people died. It's real sad. And but I mean, I guess it's it's traumatizing to the people that it affected, though.
And they also insulted the Michael and Laurie being brother and sister line.
Yes, yeah. It's like that's just something that somebody made up to make them feel better or something like that. And John Carpenter was probably like, all right, yeah, I feel that. That was me. I was drunk, sorry. And then, but yeah, so then Vicky, the kid, Dan comes over, they're making out on the couch, they're having a good time. Vicky hears something, and then the kid she's babysitting is like, hey, yo, there's something up there. Fucking help me, please. And then he's like, send Dan.
No, send Dan first.
Yeah, because he didn't want her to die because they have this nice moment where Vicky's like, you're my favorite kid to babysit. And he's like, I like you too, Vicky. And then it's like all like wholesome and shit. I'm just like, oh.
No, then there's like, she's like, oh, I know. He's like, I know y'all are talking about smoking weed.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to tell my mom on you. It's like, well, I'm going to tell your mom about your browser history.
I love that scene. I love those interaction between the two of them. It's very good. It's very funny. Feels very natural. I like it a lot. And then Vicky goes up and she pretends that somebody's in there so she can jump scare the little kid. And he's like, you fucking kidding me? Like, which always makes me laugh. And then, but like at this point, Michael's already hiding in the closet. So I'm just trying to imagine him just sitting there with this knife out, like in front of him, just like, come on, man.
She hasn't seen me yet.
She hasn't seen me. She's ruining it.
This dumbass.
Come on. And then, the kid's like, can you close the closet? Because he goes back to bed. Julian, yeah, he's like, can you close the closet? I'm going back to bed. And then, so she tries to, and it's like, there's resistance. And then she opens it, and Michael just cuts her. And then she's like, oh shit, run, whatever. And then she starts running away. And my girl gets pieced up because she was wearing socks because she slips. And I can only imagine being taken out because you're wearing socks. That's like, that sucks. And meanwhile, Dan's in the garage, like fucking pretending to ride a motorcycle because he's an idiot. And then he goes into the house while Vicky's getting got. And he's like, fuck this, I'm going to do something. So he grabs a knife.
No, first Julian runs into him. He's like, don't go up there, Dan. You're going to die.
Yeah. And I forgot about that. And then Dan's like, fuck this. And then he grabs it. And then he goes up there because he thinks he's going to do something. He doesn't do something. We later find his body pinned to the wall through the neck by the knife, which is a nice homage to the classic Bob kill from the original. And then like Laurie, at this point, Laurie's got a police scanner. She goes to the house. She sees Michael. She shoots him in the shoulder, but not after she sees his reflection in a mirror.
Well, Hawkins gets there first.
Yeah, Hawkins gets there first, and then Laurie gets there. But she sees Michael's reflection in a mirror, and for that scene, Nick Castle was Michael. Yeah, so then Michael goes out, shoots her. Oh man, I'm yawning. Sorry. Michael goes out, he shoots her, and or she shoots him rather, and then that's when Laurie meets Sartain, because Sartain starts tagging along because he recovers, and he's like, I want to be here to find Michael and all this other shit. And then
because the dumbass sheriff makes that assumption that
he's an asset.
He's an asset.
And then no, he's a liability.
What are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween?
Yeah. He's like, we're gonna cancel Halloween. He's an idiot. He's a dumb sheriff, bad sheriff. Oh my god. And so then he gets the doctor. So now Hawkins has to drive the doctor around. You actually see them driving around in the background while Allison and Oscar are walking around on the streets. And Oscar's like, I know a shortcut. And
yeah,
then,
this is after Allison and Cameron fought, so Oscar's like, my time to get in on that.
My time to shine. So then, it doesn't happen. He's like, let's do a shortcut. And they do a shortcut. And then
He tries to kiss Allison.
He tries to
I
kiss
thought
her.
you were sending me signals.
And
I'm
she's
sorry.
like, no signals. You're pathetic. Like, there's that part where she, like, stands up to him and he just fucking, like, falls back. I love that shot so much. Oh, so good.
All these girls were feeding me guacamole in such sexy ways.
Yeah.
Dancing up on me.
And then that's what he sees. That's what she climbs over a wrought iron fence and flips him off and walks away. And then that's when Oscar sees Mikey behind a tree. And he's like, and he's just watching. He's just standing there with just watching like he does. And and then that's when he says that line about, you ever have a girl that like you really want but you just can't have? And then Michael's just like, yeah. And then Michael starts creeping up on him with the motion sensing lights, cuts him, and then he's trying to climb the fence, but as Edna said in The Incredibles, no capes, because his cape gets caught, because he's dressed as like the devil or whatever. His cape gets caught on the fence, and then Michael stabs him in the back and impales his lower jaw through the wrought iron point of it. And then
which looked really good.
And then oh man, the best part of the soundtrack kicks in. Oh, it's so good. It's like, and then it's just like, and you just boom as Michael comes in, and I'm just like, yeah. Oh, it's so good. And then that's when the motion light comes on. She starts screaming, and then she starts running, and then she starts banging on doors. Somebody lets her in. Lori rendezvous with Karen and Ray, and then takes her to the house. They can't find Allison, but Allison gets with Hawkins and Sartain, and they find Michael just strolling around like a soccer field or some shit.
Making his way downtown.
Exactly. And then Hawkins runs him over, and Sartain's like, no, don't shoot him.
Don't kill him.
Don't kill him. I want to fucking kiss him. And then, he gets out. And he's like checking to see if Michael's alive, and he's like, he's dead. You killed him. And then he has like a fucking, he's James Bond, so he has like a fucking fucking scalpel pen, and he stabs Hawkins in the throat a couple times, and then Hawkins goes down. He doesn't die.
He fucking starts touching Michael's face.
Yeah, he starts touching Michael's face. He takes his mask off and puts it on, which is the dumbest part of the movie. Even Allison thinks so. Because Allison's like, ugh, like, don't do this. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, same, sis. And then, hey, Georgie. And then
he drags Michael to the
the car, puts him in the back seat next to Allison. And then he's all like fucking, yeah, Michael's so fucking cool. I'm a bring him to Lori because I want to see him fucking fight. He's like me when I used to play with my Godzilla action figures, like just banging them together. That's what he wants to happen. And so he's driving him, and Allison's like, well, he talked to me, and then he's like, what did he say? And then Allison's like, let me go and I'll tell you. And then he stops, and then these two other cops that are talking about sandwiches or some shit, like, see it. And they try to call the car, and they eventually go towards it, but not before Michael wakes up. And I love this part because Sartain's like so happy that he's awake, and then Michael just starts like fucking like kicking the back of the barrier.
Sartain's still pushing Allison. What did he say? And like Allison notices the mask is put back on Michael, and she's just like, fuck.
Yeah, it's very good.
Oh, Michael, you're awake.
He's like so happy. It's like Josh whenever he sees me online on Xbox. Oh, John. And then he starts kicking the gate, and Sartain gets fucking fucked up. And then Michael drags him out. Allison gets away. Michael sees her, and he's like, oh, whatever. I'll get to you later. I gotta take care of him. And then he's like, Michael, please say something. All those years, please say something. And then Michael just fucking squishes his head. And it's a very good practical effect. It's like a pumpkin.
All the effects were practical in this movie.
Yeah, in both in Halloween and Halloween Kills, except for the stab through the throat. That was CGI blood, but whatever. I'll forgive it. But then it's funny because Kale, our good friend Kale, he's going to be guesting. He's going to have a few guest appearances on here. His brother Cole told him a story about how. Also, Cole, if you're listening to this, hi. He saw this. He went to go see it a second time in theaters. I think it was like it was one of the times he saw it in theaters, And whenever Sartain gets his head squished, he said that he heard somebody in the audience go ooh, and then when they show it again, just ooh, like, and I just think that's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, I wish I could have been there. That reminds me of a story of Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, the one that came out in 2004. There's that part where that woman, that big lady that's in the wheelchair, when she becomes a zombie and she starts chasing after her husband or whatever. my cousin told me that when he was in the theater, he said that when she starts running after him, he said that some guy in the front was like, "Man, that fat bitch can run." I love fucking stuff like that so much, man. Like little theater moments like that. Love them so much. Like I saw a Letterboxd review for Nope, and it was talking about how the movie was good, but I still can't get over how during the Halloween Ends trailer before the movie, I heard some guy ask his wife, "What is his problem with that lady?" I fucking love it. Woo, it's so funny. But yeah, Sartain gets his head squashed, and then the cops are next. Do you see them die on screen? I don't remember. No, you don't see them die on screen.
Michael kills the cops off screen, but takes time to decapitate one of them and carve their face up like a jack-o'-lantern.
And hollow their head out, too. Yeah, he hollows their head out and puts a flashlight in there. And then the other cop, I think he just stabs him with the scalpel pen and the side of the neck.
Leaves it in there, too.
Leaves it in there for Ray to find because Ray gets stupid and decides to leave the building. And again, I love how Michael just poses people. He's such a silly guy. Love him. Love how he does that. That's one of my favorite things about him, that he's just, again, I want to hear his inner monologue as he's just hollering. He's like, okay, perfect. Let me just carve out here. Okay, perfect. And then like he gets it just right. And then he rolls the cop car up and then he kills Ray. He strangles Ray and then poses his body because Lori goes looking. Lori tells Karen to run downstairs because she's got like this fucking bunker underneath the house that's under a floating island in the kitchen. And so Karen goes down there, and Lori gets snagged by Michael through the window of her front door, and she blows his fingers off with a shotgun. And Michael just breathes real heavy because Michael, he doesn't talk. And so then Lori goes under the house, waits for Michael to come in and start looking around. And then Michael at some point goes back outside to bring Ray's body in so he can pose it. Classic Michael behavior. And then Lori goes out. She starts closing doors. She has like these steel trap doors that she closes. She's going through the house looking for Michael.
I like how also her house is like as least furnished as possible. So there's little like hiding places in any of the rooms.
Yes, and it's awesome. I love that all the thought that she put into it is so fantastic. But then she goes into a room full of mannequins. She finds Ray's body. And then she's looking for Michael, and Michael pushes one of the mannequins out of the way and comes after her. Lori pulls a knife out, tries to stab him. He does a fucking reverse counter on her and punishes her by stabbing her in the stomach with it. And then he pushes her off the balcony of the house because this room has a balcony. And he looks down. You get a nice homage to Halloween where Michael was on the floor. Because then Michael looks away when he hears Allison enter the house and ask for her mom. And then when Michael looks back down, Laurie's gone. You get the same musical sting and everything. It's so good. And you don't know where Laurie is now. And Michael goes down looking around for Karen and Allison. He sees the island. He starts fucking lifting it. Meanwhile, Karen sees the old gun that she used to use when she would target practice. Michael uses his inhuman 60-year-old man strength to lift the island off.
Again, a scene people had issue with, but
because he's too old. But like
people are capable of shit on adrenaline.
Yeah, and then
Michael even gives a little like huff to take a breath to keep going.
To push. He's like too old for this shit, like you said. And then he lifts it up, and then he doesn't let all his cards out at once. He waits, and Karen starts acting scared. Michael pops up. Karen shoots him in the neck. He does the stanky leg and collapses. And then he doesn't collapse, but he like does a stanky leg and steps off. And then that's when you get an homage to the shot where my favorite shot in the original, where Michael's face comes into view while Laurie's all scared, And this time it's Laurie's face coming into view while Michael's vulnerable. And she says, "Happy Halloween, Michael." That's her big, this is the end, friend. Fuck you, Lucky Charms moment. That's her big moment there. And I saw an edit of this where it was Busta Rhymes saying, "Trick or treat, motherfucker." And that's hilarious. I loved that. I kind of wish she had said that. I'm not going to lie. But then she starts fighting Michael with a fire poker. Michael's like, "Fuck you, Laurie. I'm mad now." And then Karen and Allison, or Laurie pushes him down the stairs into the basement. Karen and Allison get out, but he grabs Allison's ankle.
He grabbed
Karen's ankle, "Fuck me." And then, he's trying to pull her. And then Allison grabs a knife and starts cutting Michael. And then Michael's like, "Fuck." And then Karen pulls this lever that brings these steel spikes out that could have killed Michael if he had been a little faster, but he wasn't. So then, he's trapped under there. And then Laurie starts opening all these gas lines and basically burns her house down. As they leave and get away, they're in the back of a truck. And then the camera pans over to a bloody knife in Allison's hand, which I'm not going to lie. I know we talked about this fan theory, but I'm not going to lie. When I first saw it, I wondered to myself, are they going to make Allison the killer in the next one? Like, does she have a taste for it now or some shit?
That's what everyone was speculating with Kills. It's like, oh, we're going to see a more aggressive Allison, blah, blah, blah. She's going to be transitioning into the role of Michael. No.
Well, no, not at all. But this didn't have a sequel yet. This did not have a sequel. It was planned to have a sequel, but it did not have a sequel greenlit yet. So it was an ambiguous ending because, of course, it was. Because you see Michael burning, and then when it shows the room again, Michael is no longer in the room, and you have to wonder where he is, and we find out where he is in the next one. But we'll talk about that when we get to the next one. So all in all, I really like the kills in this movie. Again, I like the practical kills. The best one is obviously when he squishes Sartain's head. That is the best one in the movie. I love that kill so much. Practical effects age so much better than CGI.
I'm just glad they got rid of his character.
Because he would not have been good in kills.
Didn't try to make another Loomis.
Yeah, I'm glad that, because this felt like they were like, it felt like, because with us talking about how they got rid of, Michael's fixation on Laurie in the sequel, and how they literally killed off a character that represented fans that want to understand Michael. I really think this movie is kind of like killing off the past to create something new. And that's what Halloween Ends feels like. It feels like it's going to be a departure. And I'm excited to see what they do with it. So yeah, they killed off the new Loomis. They killed off all of that. So I guess we can go into final thoughts on this one. What are your final thoughts, Justin?
Like I said, I love it. It served exactly what I wanted it to. It fixed all my issues with everything past 4 and 5. But I don't ultimately hate every single movie that came after 4 and 5. I just, well, you could have done better, but thanks for trying.
Yeah, this movie is, like Justin said, what H2O should have been. It's a better H2O. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is more proud of this trilogy than she ever was of H2O, which is good. I'm glad John Carpenter was involved. I think those two things really made a difference. And then the fact that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are both big fans of the franchise, and you can tell that they're big fans of the franchise with all the homages that they didn't pull just from the original, but from 4, 5, and, H2O and all of that. So I really appreciate that. I'm glad that they made this movie. Yeah, good movie. I think it's one of the better sequels. Probably the best sequel to probably the best sequel, I would think. Next time we get together, hopefully next week, we're going to talk about Halloween Kills, a very divisive movie.
Which I'm going to have a lot more to say.
Yeah, me too, because this one actually has special features, so I'm going to have a lot to say about it too.
And it'll be your first time watching the extended.
And because we're going to watch the extended cut, unless the extended cut is the one with the commentary track on it, because I'm definitely watching the commentary track first. But we're going to get to that when we get to it. As usual, I am on Twitter, Mustachio Cage. You can follow me there. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment on a movie we should cover. I'll add it to our one-offs list that I already have like fucking 50 movies on that we're going to do a random number generator when we finish Halloween Kills, and we'll figure out what the next movie is, and we'll announce it at the end of Halloween Kills, and then we'll cover it, and we'll talk about it, and it'll be a grand old time. I think we're going to do 3 or 4 of those before we get to Evil Dead. right? I think that was our agreement.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna do three or four, depending on how we feel, and then we're gonna get to Evil Dead, and we're gonna cover those movies, and we're gonna start doing so we don't get tired of watching the same movies from the same franchise, especially when we get to something like Puppet Master and Hellraiser. We're gonna start doing one-offs in between each installment, with the exception of something special that we're gonna do with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, but we'll get to that when we get to that, because we're gonna be doing one-offs more. So leave your comments, and we'll take a look at them, and we'll check them out, and we'll add them to the list, and we'll have a fun time. We'll have a fun old time. Thanks for listening yet again.
Sorry this took so long.
Yeah, sorry it took so long. COVID is an asshole, and so is Justin's manager, I guess. I hope they're not listening to this. Anyway, so apologize, I guess. I don't know. Well, you didn't say it.
No,
You're
the
fine.
fault is me being the best after 3 weeks, and they're like, okay, you're going to train people now.
Yeah, I hate it. See, that's why I tell people you never work hard, because if you work hard, they're going to expect too much of you and pay you the exact same. So fun fact, don't work hard, kids, work smart. Anyway, with that being said, if you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to us, give us a like, give us a rating, leave us a good review if you like us, leave us a bad review if you don't. I don't really give a shit. I'm not going to read them. I just,
I'll read them.
Justin will read them and tell me about them, and then I'll get mad by proxy. So I guess, yeah, just go ahead and leave your bad review, leave your good review, do whatever you got to do. And thanks for listening. Thanks for giving us your time, and we'll see you next time. So we still don't have an outro, do we? COVID sucks. That's my fucking outro.
Dishwashing is sucky too.
COVID sucks. Dishwashing sucks. Prey comes out on Friday. That's fun.
I'm gonna watch it.
I cannot wait to watch that one. Just like Beavis and Butthead comes out on Friday too. Did you watch Do the Universe, by the way? I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Do the Universe is very good. You should watch that if you get a chance. Beavis and Butthead, love them. Love you, Mike Judge, if you're listening. But anyway, that's the end. COVID sucks. Dishwashing sucks. You heard it straight from us. We'll catch you next time when we talk about Halloween Kills. Bye-bye.
Bye.